In 3, 2, 1. And we're live. All right. It's John and Kenny again with Tight Talk. This will be our first official podcast today. We had a last introduction like 2 days ago. Today will be Wednesday. I don't know what the date is today. Wednesday
What you talking about by the time they see this?
Yeah, by the time they see this, today should be Wednesday the 24th.
It will be it'll be Wednesday. Probably every Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll try to get this out to you guys every Wednesday, and we'll see what the turnout is. If you guys, like we said on the last one, if there is more demand, by all means, any topics, and like I said before, if there's anyone interested that wants to get on itself, just let us know and we'll get on there. And yeah. So yeah, we've been talking the past couple of days. Well, actually, weeks and stuff like that. But I mean, the last couple of days is kind of trying to see what the current status of metal is in general. I mean, even looking at the current like Chicago Open Air Festival, that's the one that really got me kind of thinking to actually see who's on the festival. And this goes back to what we were talking about before. I mean, maybe we consider ourselves metal purists or something, however you want to say it along those lines. But I mean, some of the bands that I really want to see, which I was talking with Kenny, like there's Lamb of God, Amon Amarth, Behemoth. I mean, you've got Ozzy. They even have you have like Seether and stuff like that. But you've got like Steel Panther, which goes back to like the 80s hair metal. I mean, they're still they like brought that hair metal revolution again. You may hate Steel Panther. I mean, some of their stuff is really controversial, stuff like that. But what we were really hitting at, I was like, what happened to that kind of metal? I mean, you may hate Lamb of God and stuff like that, but I feel like that's where metal needs to be or should be or something along those lines. I mean, yeah, everyone's got their feelings on, okay, well, I like strictly hardcore, so let's start like that. And yeah, and everyone each has their own taste. But I mean, like it feels like what the industry is failing to address, or whoever these people work with the industry-wise, we hit on it before. You can have your Motionless in White, or I mean, some of these bands I actually like, but when you start listening left and right, like Upon a Burdened Body, Fit for an Autopsy, the ones that you're hearing on like XM and the radio a lot, if you play them back to back, Muir, they still have that like did. They just kind of change that lead riff or lead fill or however it is to make the song different. And coming from Lars Ulrich, when I was listening on one of the things on XM and whatnot, and they were talking, he was like, yeah, everyone kind of sounds the same. I mean, I hate to say that because it's Lars Ulrich. Like, I like Metallica.
Yeah, of all people.
To an extent. And if you're a fan of them and whatever, it is what it is. I'm not a huge fan of Lars Ulrich, but it's exactly what they're saying. When Metallica plays, it's Metallica. When Anthrax plays, it's Anthrax. I mean, they still got the same kind of like, quick thrash feel. No, any of that. We went to the Motor City Con today, me and Ed. It's a good 3-hour drive, so we actually did some like metal trivia kind of thing. And stuff like Judas Priest and Maiden and stuff like that. We were playing kind of like what Jose Mangan does on his XM thing. We hit play, and I'm like, okay, what is this? And I was able to pick out exactly what the band was, who it was, just by some of the riffs, or just obviously by the vocals. Now, I know the vocals. That's what sets a lot of the bands apart. You can kind of tell the difference.
Yeah.
But going on that, it seems like it's one big, slice they just keep reproducing. That's what the label's like. It's popular, and that's what they put out.
Well, I want to start at the source. I want to not necessarily what happened to metal. When did metal that we're referring to become classified as something else? Mm-hmm. And then also, when did this weird shift happen from bands like Lamb of God to where we have Emotionless in White and now they're the faces of metal? Mm-hmm. Like, where did this weird shift in classification come from where it sort of weeds out anyway above maybe a certain demographic, I'll put it that way, where it wasn't necessarily appealing to everyone? Like you were saying, like we were talking about the other day, how metal is the outcast, mm-hmm. the stepchild, the black sheep type deal, and now it's really accepted because of how it's been sort of shaped and morphed with appearances and gimmicks and things of that nature, which I'm not bashing that at all.
That's
But
just really cool.
but when did that take the spot instead of earning their own?
Yeah.
Like, we can say hardcore, everybody knows what that is. But when you say metal, people do not think of see either Judas Priest, Metallica, the grandfathers.
It's
no one
crazy.
thinks of
It's
that. You know
weird
what I mean?
I don't know if it may not be the best example of like with the open air, but it seems like open air is probably one of the more heavy, especially like the Sunday day. And if anyone's going out there, I'm trying to make it out there. A couple of us are out there, and if we're out there and you want to go and meet up with us, by all means, let us know. She's like, hey, I'm gonna be out here, blah blah blah. We're probably gonna be handing out stuff, stickers, and like that. I mean, it's gonna be free shit. We're gonna be out there. It's gonna be a good fucking time. Drinking beer, all stuff like that. But in lieu of that, yeah, and it's weird to say even that, like, we're looking at ourselves, like, okay, we like what we're doing, other people like what we're doing. But who's to say, what's good isn't good, and like that. But yeah, even looking at that, it's like, it's hard to kind of put my finger on, or put anyone's finger on, like, where that big change was. I mean, I feel like right after the 90s.
Right. Because you got the age gap.
Like 2000. I mean, you had like what, Kill Switch?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm trying to think. I was like, it could follow just like in how we're doing, how it is, like the millennials and whatever it is.
I was just about to say that. Give me a millennial and sit them next to someone maybe in their 30s or in their 40s and say, name a metal band. And you see this huge difference in terms of music. Because they're going to name someone from recent bands that are all over YouTube, and obviously the social media boom, all those things play a huge factor. It's just like people say, who's the best basketball player? Well, if you're talking to a kid, they're going to say someone that they see on commercials all the time. They're not going to say any legends that anybody older would know. But my question is when did that switch happen as far as metal? Since when does a millennial say, oh, yeah, Motionless is definitely metal?
Yeah,
true, I mean, which is right. But when did they take the spot of the legends of metal instead of having their own sort of subcategory in metal? Because that seems to what's been happening. This is metal deathcore, this is hardcore, this is melodic deathcore. But since when did you say metal, and now you're thinking of all these bands that clearly have their own subtext, their own subgenre, but now they're definitely what metal is? It's kind of confusing.
Yeah, I mean, it could fall along the lines too. I mean, yeah, granted, I'm glad that metal's become more mainstream and everything like that, and maybe it's like the hipster kind of feel about it, or however you want to feel on it. It seems like, well, now that it is popular, I mean, we should embrace the fact that we have everything like that. I mean, it's I don't know, it's maybe like a double-edged sword. I mean, it's more about like, does the craft become watered down as a musician? Like, there is bands out there that fucking struggle their ass off to get out there, and then there's other ones that they have, like they look pretty, or they've got a good market or anything like that they can put out there. And I mean, it's hard to judge too, because I'm trying to look at it as openly as possible through musicians' eyes and through fans' eyes. But there's all kinds of new bands that are coming out that are they're different than what we've heard. And I like it as a musician standpoint and as a fan of metal, but they don't get the recognition they do because it doesn't fall along the same.
Exactly.
Yeah, exact same tone. I mean, one band that he hears me talk about them all the time. There's a couple of them, but I mean, I know these guys, worked for a while. I'm not sure exactly how long they've been out. You guys could put in there if you happen to know, like 12 Foot Ninja. It's a weird fucking combination of like jazz and metal. Right. If you guys haven't heard them, check them out. I mean, they're freaking cool. Another one, which, not necessarily metal wise, but I find them because they were playing them on like some of the other stuff. I mean, just going into bands in general, just music in general, kind of stepping a little bit away from the metal, without getting too far away. But like Avatar, I mean, that's just an interesting band. But I like their music matches what they're. Kind of like they have a good stage presence or anything like that, and I've seen some of their shows, and I was like, well, that's freaking crazy. But I mean, trying to get back onto the metal wise, it's really hard for me to pick out a bunch of them in metal that are like, let's say, new, that are really sticking out. I mean, even the ones like, look, it took Amon Amarth like 10 years
Right.
to become what Amon Amarth is. But I feel like in those 10 years, yes, they've become more, I guess, refined or however you want to do it. But I mean, I feel anytime I hear him, I know it's Amon Amarth.
And that's my thing.
But maybe we're jaded. You know, we could just say, hey, well, I like this kind of metal. I mean, like, I got buddies that do love hardcore metal, just straight, just like you just drops, it's just angry. I get it.
That's perfect.
But if you put all 5 of those bands together, whoever on a show, is there a difference? Are we just there to kind of like beat the shit out of each other? Like what?
Yeah.
What are we looking for? I guess is the whole picture.
I guess my angle from a musician standpoint is usually, like you were kind of saying earlier, usually you can sort of pick out who was who depending on the different aspects that's going on. But it was more on the whole band standpoint when you think of the legends of metal. Their guitars sound a certain way, vocals sound a certain way, rhythm sounds a certain way. This entire band is different from someone else. Here now, where metal is more mainstream, it's more accepted because it's got more of this softer side because of the different gimmicks that's going on and maybe the on-stage personas and appearances and everything like that. There's more copycats, in my opinion. Yeah. So the ones that did earn it, that were perfectly in line with that social media boom, cool. I give them props because technically they are original. But the other bands that make just as much money, if not more, have taken from them and basically played the exact same song. The exact same way, except they look different. They obviously have different people, and maybe they have a different label.
Yeah.
But it becomes real copycatish, real quick. And that's my biggest problem is because now there's this, what Legends used to be, which is no longer metal, what metal is now, and then a pool of everyone trying to be what metal is now. And like you said, you end up listening on the radio, and you can listen for about 20 straight minutes and be like, is this the same band?
Mm-hmm. Which we've been guilty of that before. I looked up, like, did a song change? Like, they'll go into a drop or something. Yeah, even kind of looking at that, I mean, not to get away from where we were talking about, too, like, where did it actually, I mean, try to nail down, like, where do we think that this started? Going off what you're saying, yeah, it's, I mean, as anyone's out there that's on the musician side, I mean, no matter what, you got to get your product. And yes, everyone's going to be like, oh, our shit don't stink, it's good and stuff like that. For those who've heard us, I mean, you may like it or don't like it. I mean, we love what we're doing. We get good feedback on it. I mean, we're trying to work on that, and get it out there. Yeah. But the main thing is there's a lot of other bands that they're not practiced, and they don't give everything they need to give, or they don't work on it. And then they just kind of fall in the same thing. Well, this is what's working right now. I'm going to do it. I don't feel it's almost like no one's taking the risk to just try something that they just legitimately like. Now, yes, I've talked to other ones, like we legitimately like playing, one of my buddies I work with at my work, he's a drummer. And he's like, yeah, I know we do hardcore. And he's honest, like, our music's not hard. I like what we're doing. It's fun. But it's anything else. It's your typical hardcore. And that's how he explains it to me. But it's still his stuff. I know it's them. But they still kind of hear the twist because he's enjoying what he's doing. It's still hardcore. I can't think of the name of their band. I wish I could name drop them, but I can't think of it. But yeah, going with that,
It seems kind of dumbed down.
Yeah, and I was like, take chances. That's what I feel like no one's doing.
If you have a Line 6 and $200 kit, you can technically emulate someone that's already paved the way for you and claim that you're a band that you do shows.
Well, how easy is it too now? I mean, granted, technology is great when you're freaking recording. You just put in, I want to sound like Rennie Rhodes. I want to sound like Amon Amarth. I want to sound like Children of Bodom. Click the thing, amp goes in. Like when we record, we're fucking fine-tuning shit, seeing what sounds good. It was like, we want to make it our sound. Yes, we're going to run into the same chords. Yes, we're going to run into something similar sounding in tone or anything like that. It's going to happen. There's only so many freaking things done. I mean, someone's done it before us. Classical music guaranteed has played some sort of rhythm that we've never heard of, that we're going to come into if we were to search it side by side. Yes, it is. We're not trying to get at the fact of what we consider what is good metal. I mean, we all have our own decisions on that.
Right.
But I feel like the more that we go into this, this is popular now. We're gonna play it, get money off it. That's what it is. And kind of going, we're back to where did it start? I mean, I don't know if we do a little more research on it, but like kind of almost looking. It's almost like when the digital age kind of pushed that. I mean, you could even see it with pop music and everything like that. Without going from this, once we went very digital, we can get stuff on there like that. There was no need for the record company or label to push something. So times change, which I can't put. I don't not at this point. I wouldn't be able to
Really,
sure where to put
really
it.
can't
But
put the finger on
you
it.
hire the band that's gonna make you the money based on what's popular and like that because they're not buying CDs or anything like that. Times change. It is what it is. That's that's why we're doing
Right,
the
posters
podcast, why we're
became a
doing
big
Joe's.
deal, and if you look good on a poster, a chick bought it, and that's the biggest thing.
And
If
yeah,
you can
that
sell 'em,
I mean,
you know,
maybe
if
you
a
know,
woman
maybe
to
we're
buy
doing
it,
this wrong.
yeah. But from a business standpoint, perfect. Everything's fine. There's no complaints. There's no complaints there. From being a musician standpoint and knowing a lot of bands that work really hard and diligent on their craft, I know it's them when I hear them. So I guess I'll put it in that way where the harder working bands, which are picking and choosing their influences just like we are and trying to spin something to where it's their own original thing, and now they just have influences who they like to listen to and see if they can create something out of that, is still on the same playing field as some of the more lazier copycat bands, just because they can do the same thing because of how dumbed down some of the music is. So we talk about the legends of metal. It's almost like writing a story. And then we start getting with these bands now, like you said earlier. There's,
Well,
you just put a finger on one on the fretboard and you're cool. You get you a decent drummer, you're cool.
granted, some of it takes some mad talent, and I'm not trying to downplay if they're technical. I mean, there's the bands we play that barely play any notes. I can outplay Kenny. I'll play me, but that's not what we're out there, and we're not out there just to. It's not a pissing contest who can play fast, who can play better. It's not a pass who sounds better, who isn't better. I mean, I feel like the main thing is there. Like once the band's basically like, well, this is a working profile. We want this for the show. That's all there is. And like I think back to Metallica, Megadeth, Iron Maiden, and stuff like that. I feel like there's a lot more into what they're writing. I mean, you may hate all those bands. Probably on the wrong podcast, at least for now. If you hate all those bands, like if you can't figure something or anything we've said, you're like, okay, I've heard of that band. They're okay. Well, whatever. It is what it is. Yeah, I almost miss Hades was fucking fantastic music. I mean, it's not like it wasn't even that heavy. I mean, you had like Pantera that came out of there and stuff like that, and then you had like the Norwegian death movement and everything like that started coming over America. Some of that shit was brutal as fuck. I don't even like listening to it because I don't get it.
Right.
But they played so much random shit that was new or sounded different. Like when Iron Maiden came out, they're like, "Oh, what the hell, prog guitars with this?" And then they had what their original was, and they got Bruce Dickinson on it, and then he just skyrocketed over the top of it. That's exactly what they needed, and boom, you knew it was Iron Maiden. Bruce Dickinson came on, freaking belted those notes out. Bam! You could hear the different movements when you like your Priest time, like those really high, like piercing, like even higher piercing vocals than like Bruce Dickinson when they're doing like super aggressive guitars, like lead parts. Then you have Pantera that kind of they'll do a blend of screaming, but it'll have those really high,
Right.
like scream vocals, not scream vocals, but like really high, just like clean vocals, which I understand. You keep shaping with the times. I haven't really seen I feel I haven't seen an evolution. Maybe it could be the era in two. The 219 era it's very 219 by meaning like Midwest area. That we're from Indiana and everything like that our area code 219. But a lot in this area it's the same like hardcore blender and like that. And I try to branch out, so I listen to XM. I try to see what's going on in Europe. I keep looking up for YouTube for new melodic metal bands, new metal bands, and every time I search, they may have a new video. It's maybe 6 to 8 weeks old, but it's the same couple I've heard or anything like that. And I feel like there's not enough push in that way. And I'm hoping that with the direction we're taking like that, something we truly enjoy is hopefully going to lead that way. I mean, it'd be great if we're on the forefront of it like that. And going on top of that, for one more point, like we used to have just random drops in our songs, breakdowns. Everyone freaking loved them.
Right.
We didn't necessarily enjoy them.
But that was the thing. You had some bands that were only doing breakdowns.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing was a breakdown. But that's the thing. They took their own genre and ran with it. You understand what you're getting yourself into. So, I only got one more last point about it, and we can go to the next topic. Let's say we start the year we start talking about like Sleeping with Sirens.
Mm-hmm.
So his style of vocals, he's more the originator of that. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's more on the forefront of singing that way.
I'll even say it's fucking bitchy metal. I don't give a fuck about that. That's cool. You can chug and you're like that. It's bitchy metal. I don't give a fuck about that. Yeah, you want to cry about women and like that? That's cool. Don't consider yourself metal and stuff like that. You're not the same, which is cool. I get it.
Right, but now that's metal.
Yeah.
So that's weird to me. How the last person I heard is like old school All That Remains and Kill Switch Engage, which is my opinion, metal.
Good old 2000 stuff.
Boom, we switch over to the more cute style, and this is metal now. They don't get their own genre like hardcore, deathcore,
and there's
math metal. And it was weird.
Metal, yeah.
That to me, that's weird. So, this is my last point. For me, and like drum covers, the consensus is to keep your ear to the ground. Whatever's the most popular song, hurry up, make the cover. That way, you're somewhat in that push.
Mm-hmm.
If a song just dropped and it's by a top 10 artist, do the cover of the song so when they search you on social media, you pull up with it. And I feel like that same concept translated into quote unquote metal. If I can sing this way or play this way or do exactly what they did and just time it just right, now I'm in the mix. And that's my problem, because on the side of bitchy metal, that's original for them. Mm-hmm. They have the same feeling we do. This is what we love to do. This is our style. This is new. Cool. But then now, why are they on the sort of the back end? And these newer people are doing the exact same thing that they've done. The exact same thing. I don't feel it's original. I feel like someone has literally stolen the style and just waited till the timing was right.
Mm-hmm. Even, with that, we're not one to define metal and say what isn't metal.
That's why I pose a question, like what happened?
We can consider what we think is metal and whatnot. And even some of the topics. You can go back to some of Ozzy's lyrics. If you took his lyrics and had them do it, it probably would sound like bitchy metal on some of like No More Tears and like that.
Right.
But maybe it could be jaded or biased because like these are some of the fathers of metal coming from like Black Sabbath and all that. Maybe that's why I'm thinking that way. But as it stands, if you go to a Pantera concert, you go to a Slayer, you go to Behemoth, you go to all these guys, and yes, I'm naming these specifically. I think these are some of like the heaviest like hardcore. They have some of the fucking crazy fans. You even see women in the pits getting this, but I feel like it's kind of like that ugly metal point I brought up. It's not that we don't want to cater to a specific person, sex, race, creed, gender. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is the point is, if you go to a Sleeping with Sirens concert, hell, you go to Vans Warped Tour like that. Granted, they're getting some heavier bands on there. Who's in the crowd? Mostly like young females, like 13 or like that. And granted, good that you're out there and good that you're liking this heavy shit. We support that. But there's not like, even my age, the guys are in their 30s or like that. Even males. Your typical what you think is a metalhead, a sweaty, either fat dude, long hair, or just someone who looks like smoke pot. They look dirty, the anti-hippie.
And
now it's like they're
tight jeans.
Yeah, tight jeans, skinnies,
long hair.
Granted, we're sometimes guilty to wear that on stage, so it is what it is. Whatever, fuck it. But
the skinnies with
even that
just name it. Just name it typical.
Skinnies.
Yeah, just name it what's typical now. Just the skinnies, the Vans, the long hair. the cute smile, and now they're metal.
Mm-hmm.
Since when did the metalhead? It's no longer a metalhead. That's
And
literally
it's cool.
my
That's
question.
become. I feel like it's the progression of it. It's becoming we're more mainstream, which is good for us. But I mean, I feel like you don't have as a hardcore following.
Yeah,
You could really release a bullshit album that you just hate, and you can agree or disagree with me. I liked older Suicide Silence. This new one, not a fan of it.
no,
If they're happy with it, that's cool.
because clearly it's a shift to the more popular direction.
Yeah, I feel like you guys would. I'm not gonna dwell on this point, but there's a lot of people that aren't happy with it. And what I'm getting at is, I was like, it's almost like the fans. If you release something that's not good and the fans aren't, they'll still stick with them. Like Metallica. Metallica's got the best. They can release them playing the same stuff, all crappy. They're so hardcore, and that's what I love about metal. Metal always supports you. It's because there's always the downtrodden
Right.
feeling, the people that really need it, the reason why we do music, the reason I got into metal and like that. Those are the ones they're gonna stay tried and true no matter what you release. Now, granted, if you release something totally out of the blue, you go like total pop album.
Yeah,
You might lose some
that's a
fans.
whole U-turn, but yeah.
But yeah, and not to dwell anymore on that point. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's other stuff that we're not seeing. But I feel like what metal used to be, or the individuals in metal and like that, they're just kind of weaning out, and they're going, like you said, the easier way, instead of putting something else out there that's like, let's see what this let's happens with it. And part of that too comes with the labels. I mean, everyone's
Right.
so easy to try to please a label, so easy to try to get a record deal and like
You
that.
signed a deal. You have
can't build anything.
Yeah, you didn't read any details. You didn't know you lost creative control. What ended up happening? You're probably a good band with a good following, and you sound similar, not exactly the same, but you already signed the contract, and the main person on the label is now your competitor. If you don't do what they do, you don't make any money.
Well, they're making more money. We're done with you.
Right.
Yeah, you just release something, go tour with them.
It's
blah,
pretty
blah, blah.
harsh.
Well, it's like some bands that get stuck with the same like old '90s bands or like that. You're like touring with. You have like a band that could be good. We'll say X band, and they're only with Korn or something like that. Or I'm not hating on Korn because I like Korn, but some more mainstream band where the same Korn people are going there, and you're seeing the same band with that. They're not getting the exposure they need to the other fan base, other potential fan base that they've
Right.
never seen. And yes, yeah, you can make good money or like that, but that kind of kills you in that standpoint, because you're playing with the same touring band on the same level. Like, granted, I would love to have studio work like that, but I mean, as a musician standpoint, you're not introducing your art to anyone new.
Exactly. Which is that other side. Like you said, we're being unbiased, which is the other side to why the copycatters exist.
Yeah.
Because if like
You
we
can
can
book a show, 5 people,
Yeah.
5 bands, 3-hour show, sold out good,
Done.
because we all sold the same.
right
I'd rather get booed off stage, which
for being
knock on
different,
wood, hopefully, no one's booed us off yet.
but for being different. Because what I don't want to do is, and I'm going to keep mentioning Sleeping with Sirens just because they were one of those bands that were just different. This was definitely a brand new band, brand new style. You know what I mean? And they took that demographic, that 13, 15-year-old girl demographic by storm. It's a shame to go to a Vans Warped Tour concert and they're no longer the main stage.
Mm-hmm.
And they were replaced by some other band that's doing exactly what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Almost verbatim. They just have a different band name. That's the upsetting part.
Mm-hmm.
Riding the coattails type of deal.
Yeah, and you just keep. I mean, it was like when Memphis Mayfire is bringing all his bands out. That's the whole reason you introduced me to The Word Alive.
Yeah.
Never heard of these guys. Fucking killed it.
Killed
And they just they put Memphis Mayfire to shame. I was just like, holy
Blew
shit,
them out of the water.
who the fuck are these dude? Yeah, it's kind of bitchy metal on some stuff, but I'm like, dude, these guys are awesome.
Just the energy.
The energy,
wise.
like I felt they enjoyed what they were doing. It felt
Exactly.
fresh, it felt new. I watched Memphis Mayfire. It felt like the same downtrodden thing they've been doing over and over. And it's just, okay, we're gonna jump here, we're gonna play here, break here, jump here, play here, break here, done.
Right.
Which cool. Do what you want to do.
Which isn't bad, but here we go. Here we go right at that point. Someone else that some other band out there is Memphis June Fire.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be main stage.
Yeah, it's because they're newer,
That's
they're
gonna be
younger, they're different,
exactly.
they're better
That's
looking, and they don't got the fan base.
That's
something
my
like that.
problem. When did that become a thing? Since when did the outcast become even more of an outcast?
It's so easy to get pushed aside too. I mean, that's the other thing too. They build up these bands, get them fucking huge, and then they don't got no fan base to follow them. You have Memphis Mayfire, and we'll use them again. That's their fan base. Or you have X band, whatever they are. Their fan base is built up. They push them. Those same 500 people. Every show you're at, you're making the money zone like that, but you're not pushing to try to reach out to someone else. Try to reach out overseas or anything like that.
Try to be different.
And you break a good point. I mean, it's in itself. Why is there so much competition in bands? I mean, yes, we're not out. I'm not out there to try to best you. I'm not out there to be like, oh, we played. Yes, every band's gonna be like, okay, we're better than that band. I mean, that's the mentality you have as an artist or anything like that. Your ego. You can do that in anything else. You can be in your own company.
Yeah.
But I believe we talked about this, previously.
We touched on it lightly.
And why is it if there's a set of 5 bands, let's say 5 bands, and let's say you're the headlining act, okay? Why can't I mean, yes, granted, we know you have preps time and you have, there's times where we set up, which kind of sucks. Usually the band that's right before us, we don't get to listen to as much because we're too busy prepping or like that. Especially Kenny's gonna put his drum set together. Yeah, but let's say you have the headlining band. That's what the headlining band's doing. So why can't that other time? Granted, you may have to do some merch stuff or anything like that, but I mean, there's an opportunity there to be able to talk to the bands that are doing the same thing you're doing. They were all in the same position, no matter how high you were before or you weren't. We had to work there to get from point A to point B, and then now I'm at point C. That band's only at B. There's no reason that you need to be like a dick or anything like that. And I'm not trying to do this to call any specific bands out. Just observations we had throughout the years of us performing.
Yeah, like since when did me not having a tour manager meant that we were on some different level of status?
Mm-hmm. Granted, we met some good people that were high tier, phenomenal, nice people.
Exactly, which are the exact opposite. But that's the question. Why isn't it consistent?
Mm-hmm.
There should be, granted, and we try to connect with people that feel the exact same way, just so we can build our own community that way. But it's weird to walk in a building and be like, hey, by the way, I'm sharing the stage with you tonight. Didn't know if you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's even worse when that moment happens. You're the local band versus a headliner. Let's just throw it out there. You have the bigger draw than the headliner, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
You have the better crowd reaction, and you have the better performance. And yet their nose is still up in the air because they took home the majority of the profit. You didn't do any work.
Yeah, I mean, granted, that's like your label or manager or whoever you're doing is setting up, or even whatever your connections are. And I wish I remember who actually said it, but like, yeah, I felt the same way from the quote. Playing to 1,000 people at an arena, playing to like one person at a bar. The bands that fucking just kill it at 100%. I think I was watching a podcast with it was Dana White's and whatnot, and they talked about they got I don't remember, was it Soundgarden or something like that? I don't remember what it was. Oh yeah, and by the way, that's sad about Chris Cornell.
Yeah, big time.
Too short, man. I was like, it was really iconic. I know it's many days past, but yeah, that sucks. But yeah, whatever band it was, they played to maybe 100 people. I like that Dana White's thing. Treated it like it was a fucking arena full of like 10,000 people, and that's what I love about some of the old artists. I need to look it up on my phone.
It's just a different level of appreciation.
Yeah, I could really feel for that.
And that's what throws me. I mean, we can link that back to topic number 1. I feel you're a copycat band now. There's no passion, no heart in it. You signed a deal, you get paid. So this is basically a job you don't like doing. You might as well go back to a 9-to-5, working in an office or working in retail or being a server. You might as well go back to doing that because you're not treating the music with the proper love and respect that the ones who are truly hungry do on a day-to-day basis. I mean, we've been very fortunate of dealing with the majority of people that are the exact same way, of like us. Let's have a great show. Let's connect. Hey, these are my fans. These are your fans.
It was Stone Temple Pilots, by the way. That's the ones that play with Scott.
and let's try to do this again. Like, we had a great time with you guys. Let's try to put something together again. We've been very fortunate to deal with a lot of people that are that exact same way.
And that's from that's from us playing with major bands, like major touring bands, and us playing with local bands. I mean, there's some local bands out there that are just it was a 2-piece. Living the Devolution, is that the name of that band?
I believe so.
Guys?
I know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
we always know them like that. It's a drummer
Stevie...
and a guitar player. Shout out to them. Dude, by all means, we'd like to have you guys on here. You guys are cool people. Just chat and whatnot. So hit us up, man. We'll hit you up and try to get you on here. But yeah, a guitar and a drum. Came up and the asshole me like, what the fuck is this shit? I was like, you don't have. What are you gonna do?
Are they missing something?
Yeah, they started playing. I'm like, damn, this is good shit. And then I went up right to him. I was like, dude, I was not expecting this. You guys freaking killed it. And then we picked them up to do one of just our local shows that we're doing. I'm like, dude, come out. We won't play with you again.
Yeah.
They fucking killed it. They sound like a full freaking band.
It was.
And it's 2 people.
It's two people. But that was the thing. You can feel that energy coming off the stage, radiating off of them. This is what. Yes, it's 2 people up here, but this is what we love to do. And it's just not unanimous with more people, with more bands that have the means to change a situation. I'll throw it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'll really throw it that way, where you can have that influence on local bands, on sister bands, to make that difference and make a community out of your genre, your style. But your nose is so far in the air. The only thing you can sniff is your ego, because that's the only thing that's that high. Because I can count on the bands that we've played with to be like, hey, we're looking to play a show. And they hit us up.
Mm-hmm.
And the exact same way, we're looking to play a show. We're going to hit them up. We're all going to promote and market the show. We're all going to connect with the people before and after the show ends. It's weird that I'll say some of the bands with the cash, with the means to really make an impact, just take their money and go home.
Yeah, it's weird. Like even some local acts are guilty on that. Like we try to stay as long as we can to watch everyone that's out there because they were nice enough to stay there and watch us. So out of respect, I mean, one of our Unknown Zodiac, they're good buddies of ours. It's just a matter of respect back and forth. No matter if they headline, they start, they'll stay, watch us, or anything like that. But they'll stay for any band. And granted, if the other band doesn't want to talk to them, so be it. I mean, we'll all do that. But more of that camaraderie, I feel, is slowly going away. And I'm glad that the people we do play with, it's still happening.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. I'm more inclined to call bands like Unknown Zodiac when the money does hit the jar to say, hey, we may be the headliners, but this is a great opportunity for you, or vice versa. I can trust that. I can count on them to do something like that. I can count on promoters to be that way, the ones that we work with, to say, you know what, this is an opportunity. We want to see you. We want to hang out again. We had a great show last time when we were in the area. We're back. We remember you guys. Mm-hmm. To leave that sort of mark on bands and fans. Because 9 times out of 10, the fans are the friends of the band.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever happens gets told to those fans. So you write yourself short when you're the person that's supposed to have the bigger draw come in. You don't speak to any of the acts that did work their ass off. And it's like, oh, if that's the case, my friends are going to watch me and go. Mm-hmm. No, they're not going to buy your t-shirt. No, they don't want to know who you are. You don't want to know who I am. Respect is earned. Not just you walk in the room and everyone's like, oh, praise the high mighty headliner. We won't talk to you. We won't touch you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ones that we repeat people that see us before. Like we'll run in the same bands. Like, oh yeah, we play with you guys. Or some other ones, we're friends with bands. We're trying to work the scene, trying to work our shit out, and it is what it is. Some better, some others, or some not so good, like that. But yeah, I mean, it's always makes me sad, like especially if we just go to a show and whatnot, and I'm like, hey, who's the headliner or something like that, and I'm like, well, blah blah, such and such. They show up late, they don't show up at all, and like these are some bands that are like I've never really heard of or I've kind of heard of, and they're on like a tour package or something like that. And, they're just passing through. I mean, granted, that is what it is. But I was like, just because you think it's some podunk area or anything like that, how do you know it's not going to be a good show or anything like that? And yes, local support, but sometimes you're like, oh, and you've got such and such band, and local bands.
And that's the crazy
But
part.
yeah, they were a local band before, and that's what it was. And we're not saying that we're solid about anyone else that's done this or we have had any horrible experiences with it. It's just a pure fact. It's another observation. I was like, what?
What happened to camaraderie? It's just another.
And
it's just another question. What happened? You were in my position once in your career. What shifted to where you no longer respect where you came from?
Mm-hmm.
Number one. Because then all the rest of the actions just line up with number one. You clearly don't care where you came from. You're just passing through a rinky-dink town, and you don't understand that that's a potential opportunity for that to be your town. So you see bigger bands that come out of places like Tinley Park, the bowling alley at Tinley Park, and they can have a secret show and sell out.
Mm-hmm.
Why? They love Tinley Park.
Mm-hmm.
Tinley Park responds.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't even have to be their hometown. They stopped there. They did their job. They were respectful. They love what they do, and they showed that to the fans and other bands. And word just spread. There's this band. And the dominoes just fell.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime they come back in town,
such bands back, and it's a weird. Granted, yeah, we're primarily playing in a metal scene, and I know there's other shows, and so like I don't know if I would assume it's the same kind of problems running back and forth.
I believe so.
It's hard to go. I mean, granted, I'm mainly focused on like our metal side and everything like that. Even some like the hard rock guys we know, but yeah, it's weird like the angles they go, and I almost feel like there's bands that are coming out, but I don't feel like there's. It sucks that you have to do. To get to play somewhere, you have to pay to play to do something. And granted, yes, you're doing your job or anything like that as a band. You do whatever, and you get like the so far cut of whatever. I mean, that's the point is, if we're doing, that's gonna happen. You do that, so the promoter, whoever you're working with, gets their end for hosting stuff like that, assuming they promote,
right?
Assuming they have everything like that. But then, yes, you do have the opportunity to play the band that you might not play with before. And it's kind of sad that you can go back to the 80s, which we didn't get to experience. You could show up, hey, I have a band. Okay, we'll give you guys a chance. You play it, here's $50. Or here's drinks at the bar.
Right.
You guys are good. Let's do it again. Like, I've been listening to, like, Joe Rogan stuff. It's almost like, when they go to they keep bringing him up because I've been listening to him a lot. Comedy clubs. I wish it worked like that. If you put your time in, do a 5 minutes set, 10 minutes set, and like that, they start liking it. Hey, come back. We'll have another show for you.
But that's the thing. It's slightly different only because you mentioned it earlier. What happened to music digitally? Mm-hmm. I don't have to come to a show. I can just download your album and sit my ass at home. So my crazy thing is that you can still go to shows and still see a legitimate amount of people who are still hardcore fans. It's not nearly as many people as it used to be because you had to go buy a physical copy of the CD at that time. And you might as well go to the show and your band is going to have them type of deal. But since I can just download it, I don't necessarily need to go to a show. But the numbers are still there. So, but no, maybe not as much, but they are definitely still there when we talk about going to a show and treating the show with the proper respect. And as far as pay to play, that becomes quickly misconstrued when there's no detail.
Mm-hmm.
Got to have $100, so you might as well sell X amount of tickets to get $100.
And then
where's my work going to? That's not my pocketbook.
Mm-hmm.
It's different when you say, hey, as a group, we have to come up with X amount of money to rent out the venue so we can have a show. Use the tickets, and this money will go there. I don't have an issue with that.
And I understand, too, yeah, we've done it where we barely made goal at the shows we were hosting. And we tried to pay everyone else out. But I feel like if there's the incentive just to get people, yes, you're going to get stung. And as a promoter or venue person, you gotta bite that bullet. And if there's, if that's the point of where they don't deliver, maybe like 1 strike, 2 strikes, then you're done. Don't book that band again. We're not dealing with that. We're not having to deal with the overhead or like that. It is what it is. But yeah, we're going with that. I mean, it kind of like close up on some points and whatnot. Kind of go back what we were talking about before. We went a bunch of different things. Going back to where do we think that this fallout of what is metal or what the industry is or why it's there's good bands out there that are getting passed up and they're not doing anything like that. Why people are acting. I mean, are we able to really put on where we think it started? I mean, we can
Right.
debate this in the comments and stuff like that. But our main thing is what we're trying to cover is where did it start, and what are we doing to either make it better or worse? I guess it's to sum up everything we're trying to talk about.
What's the trend here? Because for me, it's not necessarily a good one.
Yeah.
As far as how it's going, from a musical standpoint, it's a perfect opportunity.
Yeah, I mean,
to again be that weird sore thumb out of nowhere that's like, you guys don't play anything that what I'm used to hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. That's kind of the point. Wanted to throw something different, and I just so happened to be different. It wasn't something I did on purpose. I'm not copying anyone else for the sake of being the odd man out. This just so happens to be my legitimate influences.
Yeah, I mean, we covered a lot today or like that, and feel free to comment or like that. Any other ideas, we could talk about, tell us we're wrong, argue back and forth, whatever the hell you want. Our main thing is, we just want to bring more notice into, it's up to us as musicians to change what's going on, to push what it is, and you guys as fans, and same thing with the fans that are musicians, to really push, let's not lose what metal actually brings to us. Let's not lose, if you want, like a metal purist feeling or like that. And we might not even be considering the metal purist stuff. But I feel like, if you just go, like look overseas or like that, there's a lot of opportunity that gets to be out there. And they're looked at. Is it actually good? Is it actually something you want to see? Granted, you have to market. If they're faceless or something like that and they can't move around on stage, maybe that's not something the label wants, but maybe it is. You won't know until you test the waters. But yeah, what that is, I mean, if anyone figures out, where do we think,
let me know.
A lot. We're trying to figure, like we kind of narrowed it down kind of to the time period of maybe when the digital era started coming through, like maybe the mid 2000s, and then when bands were just they were struggling because the labels and stuff like didn't want to pay them. And they just like, well, we got the digital, we got to have CD sales. Well, I don't have CD sales. They've got the digital stuff. People weren't necessarily coming to shows to check out new bands. You have to do a media presence, and maybe that's it. That maybe when the internet became so big that you could just by a click look like, I want to hear a new pop metal punk something.
Ding,
and it goes up. Here's some pop metal punk whatever bands.
I don't know. It's all kind of foreign to me because I'm still that guy that listens to the old school and still buys CDs and. Mm-hmm. But again, I'm a '90s baby.
Yeah, and
it might be totally different from
and
them.
Even just a couple years difference. I mean, we're very, very similar and stuff. I mean, granted, like we hang out, we listen to the same music. So, but yeah, thanks for listening again. We'll be hopefully giving you another podcast next week. We plan on doing this weekly. Like I said, if there's any other topics, feel free to comment, leave us a line.
Yeah.
That's just on Facebook. Once again, if you've never met us or saw us again, I'm John. This is Kenny. I play the lead guitar and Time Is the Enemy. He plays the drums at Time Is the Enemy. Not here right now is Sam, our bass player, who sometime will be on here, hopefully. Please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, as official, TITE. Also, we're on Facebook, Reverb Nation. And be sure to like and share the podcast and subscribe to our main YouTube channel, which will have all kinds of random videos on there. And basically Tight Talk, TITE.
TITE Talk, and put what you think in the comment section.
Yeah, if there's anything we could do better, you want us to cover, we need more lights or anything like that, anyone you think we should get on from the area, please let us know. And if you're wondering what I was drinking earlier today, this is no affiliation to us, no anything like that. It's Iron Maiden's Trooper. It's a British ale. It's delightful. You may hate beer, you may hate ale. It is what it is, but that's what I was drinking. Yeah. But anyways, once again, thank you for listening, and we'll go from there. So see you guys next week.